And he told Maharaj, you have spent billions of lifetimes, Jai Bonita, in sense gratification. Billions. Did you know you had billions of lives in sense gratification? I mean, that's quite a lot when you count it. He said, just give this one life to Krishna. You already had enough. You've already done everything. We've done everything possible under the sun. But this life, do something different. Give your life to Krishna. So this is Nistha. This is a level of steadiness. He said, give this one life to Krishna, and if you want, you can have billions more. You can always enjoy again. You know, if you want to have a billions more lives. Become a fish for many lives, and 9 lakh species, 900,000 species of fish, one after the other, you have to go. And then you become the trees and the plants and all these things. And then you become insects, many species, and reptiles, and animals, 30 million species, or 3 million species of animal life, and 400,000 species of human life. And the topmost human being is one who has asked the question, why am I suffering? And he comes to devotional service. So we're in the top species right now, in this world at least. There are, of course, the demigods, and they're higher, but so we have a great chance, great opportunity that we can elevate ourselves to the spiritual world. So let's hear more what happens in verse 20 on your prayer sheet. 1, 2, 20. Evam prasana manaso Bhagavati yogata Bhagavat tattva vijnanam Mukta sangha sajayate Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive, scientific knowledge of this personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. So in the mode of goodness you get happiness, you get knowledge. So what happens next? After you get knowledge, then you have to apply the knowledge. Now we need realized knowledge. We have to apply it. That's why I give you homework. Homework means you have to realize what you heard. Not just hear it. Hearing is also good. You get punya when you hear. But you have to also practice, realize the knowledge. Now here it says cheta. Cheta means heart. Everything's happening in the heart. Even, well, cheta, that was the last verse, sorry. Cheta started with verse 19, but now it's continuing. Evam prasana manaso. Manaso also means heart. That everything is working. The mind is in the heart. And in the verse 17, we heard about the Lord in the heart, how he's cleaning the heart when we chant in here about Krishna. And so the heart is a central point. In verse 18, we heard about how almost all the dirty things are gone from the heart. And then verse 19, lust and greediness are taken. And now, you're joyful. You can understand that this is what I'm meant to be doing in my life. And the purport Prabhupada says, as soon as one understands he has nothing to do with matter, he at once ceases his material hankerings and becomes enlivened as a spiritual being. So we are spiritual beings. When the disease is over, when the fever is gone, then we feel healthy and happy. Oh, it's easy. Spiritual life is easy now. I don't have to struggle anymore. Prabhupada said that in the beginning it's like going up the hill when we're struggling against all the dirty things and cleaning the heart. And then Nistha is like the top, balance. And then going downhill, it's much easier. And then we go and ruchi, taste, and asakti, absorption, and then bhava and prema. We're going down the hill, and so it's like very easy, and we make very quick progress Once we get to Nistha, Nistha is the balance, the first step of liberation. And we become prasanna manaso. So Rupa Goswami says, utsaha, we should always be enthusiastic. And I saw when I was in Jaipur, how enthusiastic the people were there. They were running at 4 o'clock in the morning down the streets, shouting, Govinda, 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 very enthusiastic to go to Mangalarti. And thousands, in the Mangalarti there, and they're all singing. They're all singing together. It's quite an experience. And so that's enthusiasm. Then Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam means practical application of this devotional service. And then you get taste. So what is the taste? What happens when we have taste before we come to the level of taste, when we're just in the other lower levels of devotional service? The result is that our faith becomes strong, it fortifies our faith, our intelligence, and it helps us to resist temptation if we have a taste, a higher taste. That's what Gita recommends, that you can give up the sense gratification only if you have a higher taste. Otherwise, if you try to restrain it and your mind thinks about it, then it's not going to work. Your mind also has to have that taste for Krishna consciousness. And we also, Nectar of Instruction, it says that the holy name, the form, they're sweet, like sugar candy. But in the beginning, our tongue has got jaundice of avidya, ignorance. We cannot taste anything sweet, so it takes some time, but we need to chant every day. Just by chanting the sweet names every day, then we get to taste, and the disease is destroyed. So this taste gives us a spiritual pleasure, and we get this higher taste, our vision is purified, and we can resist temptation. So what are the symptoms of taste, ruchi? First of all the impediments to chanting and hearing, like fatigue, hunger, are no longer visible. Even if you're hungry, it won't bother you, it won't stop you from chanting Hare Krishna. Even if you're thirsty, even if you're sleepy, you'll still chant your rounds. You'll finish your rounds at night. So that's the first symptom of taste. The second symptom of taste is an insatiable appetite for even seemingly insignificant devotional practice. Like you can't wait to get your hand in your bead bag. You're feeling separation from your bead bag when it's not in your hand. And you can't wait to see the deities in Mangalarti time. And in the books, you see this is the example given in Madhura Kadambini. You see some devotee with a book under their arm and they say, oh, hey, what do you have? What's that? Which book do you have there? Let me see. Is it a new one? I haven't read it. Can I have it? I used to do that in Calcutta because we didn't have any Prabhupada's books, so I got the whole set of Bhagavatams in CC by begging from devotees at Gaur Purnima time. They would come through Calcutta on their way to Mayapur. And I'd say, hey, we don't get the books. And they would give them to me. They were very kind. I got the whole Bhagavatam set in CC one by one. Because there were no books in India in the 70s. It wasn't until the 80s, I think, the books came. And you started printing. So yeah, you can, and of course, the taste wasn't, I wasn't on the level of taste, but I did have a taste for always reading the books. And that's still going on. So so the second is an insatiable appetite for just insignificant devotional practice. And you're so absorbed in the taste that sometimes you lose track of who you are. Like sometimes if we sleep in the day, we wake up and say, where am I, who am I, what am I? If you have a nap in the day. But this happens while you're chanting japa, you forget who you are because you're so absorbed in the chanting. You forget where you are, who you are. So this is a level of taste. Now, but false ego is still there, even when you're on the level of taste. So how does the false ego manifest when you're on this level? In two ways. Sometimes you get attached to the happiness of doing something in devotional service, and then your service changes and you get upset. Or you're attached to the happiness, or if the happiness goes away, then you say, hey, what happened today? Oh, I'm not feeling the same taste I usually feel. So you get attached to that feeling. And then the second symptom of the influence of false ego is that there may be still unwanted habits caused by offenses to other devotees. So this is another symptom. So verse 21 tells us what happens after ruchi, or taste. These are the higher levels, which we will touch on a little bit. Vidyate hridaya grantis, vidyate hridaya grantis, chityante sarsamshaya, shiyante chas karmani, drishteva manishvare. Thus a knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruit of actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. So, did you know you have a knot in your heart? There is a knot in the heart of all conditioned souls. And this knot has a name. And it's one word in Sanskrit and two words in English. Does anybody know what the name of this? Of course, here it says Hridaya Grantis. That means knot in the heart. But it does have a name. Does anybody know? What is this knot? What is its name? The name is Ankara, false ego. That is the name of the knot in the heart. And if you have a knot, that means it's joining some things together. So this knot is joining two things together. What are those two things? Yes?
I and mine.
No. Something else, but you got one of them right. I mean, yes?
Soul and the body?
Yes. Body and soul. Material and spiritual. So I and mine is the half of it. It's the material side. So that is, we're joining the I and mine to the pure soul. The false ego is joining I and mine to the pure soul. It's joining the body, it's joining matter to spirit, it's joining the body to the soul. So what happens if that knot is cut? What's going to happen if we cut the knot of the body to the soul? Will we just fly away and
Sounds like you're going to die.
Huh?
Sounds like you're going to die.
That sounds like you're going to die. Yeah. Well, actually, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj summarized it, summed it up in his book, Die Before Dying. That's what happens. You have to die before you die. What does that mean? Yes?
When your desires become similar to Krishna's desires.
Very good. When your desires become similar to Krishna.
Then you spiritualize.
Yeah, when your false ego dies. That's what happens when you cut the knot. And your real ego comes. So all is not lost. When you cut the knot in your heart, as it says here, what happens is you will see the self as master. The soul is the master of the body. Spirit is master of matter. In this world, matter is master of spirit. Everyone is trying to enjoy matter, trying to serve matter, serve the body, serve the material. So everyone is servant, everyone is godas here in this material world. So the knot is pierced, all misgivings are cut to pieces, so that's very nice.
Good. When the piercing of the knot is done by the devotee or by Krishna?
That's a very nice question because it's answered in the purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the purport of this verse, it is answered what happens. So, it's just, I'll read the purport. The Lord says, in order to show special favor to his pure devotees, he personally eradicates the dense darkness of all misgivings by switching on the light of pure knowledge within the heart of a devotee. So the first thing that happens is, before the knot is pierced, is Krishna turns on the light in your heart. And you start seeing things. You're going to see all the dirty things first, but then later on you'll see the soul and Krishna. Now, further, enlightenment comes from the Lord in the heart when the devotee submissively hears in parampara. So the light will come on if you hear submissively. Then, again in the purport, this enlightenment perfectly enables the devotee to distinguish spirit from matter because, now here is the sentence by Prabhupada about the knot. The knot of spirit and matter is untied by the Lord. Isn't that nice? He'll untie it for you. Krishna. That's what's happening when you chant Hare Krishna. Krishna is not just sitting there saying, nice, chanting my name. No, he's he's doing work. He's cleaning your heart. He's tossing out all the, he's doing spring cleaning of your heart for billions of lifetimes. He's throwing out everything you don't need. So this is happening, and then after the cleaning is getting nice, then the lights come on. He turns on the light. This is the purport of this verse. You should read it. 1:2:21. You'll find out a lot. And then after he turns on the light, he unties the knot. He doesn't cut it. He's gentle. Unties the knot. And some of us have more than one knot. We have many knots. We're knotted. We're knots. So stressed. But the Lord will take care of it, and all of our doubts, all of our misgivings, will be cut. And we don't want to keep those doubts and misgivings and lack of faith. That will be cut. All the clouds of doubt at once cleared up. This is what Prabhupada said. This knot is called Ankara, and it falsely obliges a living being to become identified with matter. As soon as this knot is loosened, therefore all the clouds of doubt are at once cleared off. One sees his master and fully engages himself in transcendental loving service of the Lord, making a full termination of the chain of fruitive action. So here it says, the knot is pierced, vidite, vidyagrantis, chityante sarvasamshaya, all your misgivings are cut to pieces, shiyante, chasya karmani, and all your karma is finished, liberation. So what happens? Prabhupada gives the example. The chickpeas, you know chickpeas, if you plant them, they will grow into a plant. But the same chickpea, if you fry it, then it won't grow. So, when you chant Hare Krishna, you're frying all the seeds of material desire, so they won't grow again. We have all these seeds in our heart to enjoy. When you chant, when you do devotional service, they're all being fried very nicely. So they won't grow. They won't grow again. Isn't that nice? Our karma should be fried by devotional service, Prabhupada says. Fry your karma. Fry your material desires. It's so nice. So, the Lord is very kind and affectionate to his devotees. And if a devotee, so he's not subjected to karma. We don't have karma. It is simply a token given to us by Krishna so that we don't stay in this material world. We don't get attached to this place and we don't want to stay here. So one thing Prabhupada said about Sankirtan in 1975, so he glorifies two different things. He glorifies Sankirtan and he glorifies the pujari. Prabhupada said about Sankirtan, he compared it, he said, Vishvamitra performed heavy austerity for 60,000 years. And you get the same benefit of this 60,000 year austerity on a few days of Sankirtan. Isn't that nice? So for those of you who are doing Sankirtan, then this is a very nice inspiration. This is in a class in Chicago in 1975. Then in Vrindavan, we had a lack of pujaris, so Prabhupada said the highest service a human being can perform is to be a pujari. Because although the pujari has a material body, he's serving the Supreme Lord. He wakes the Lord up, he bathes, he dresses, he feeds, These are activities of the spiritual world, but he's doing it here in this world. This is the perfection of human life. Prabhu said, there's nothing higher than a pujari. If you're a pujari, you've attained your constitutional position even within samsara, and you're liberated. I remember when I was pujari, it was really wonderful. I was living in Calcutta, and it was very austere, but I felt like I was in the spiritual world because I was with the deities 20 hours a day, and 4 hours sleeping. And you feel like, you're with Krishna. Gargamuni was our temple president for some time, and we used to take pictures of the deities, and he would use them to show up to make life members. He would say, see, these deities are so beautiful. And one time Gargamuni was studying the pictures of Radha Govinda, and he said, hey, he looks different in this one, and he looks different in this one. The face doesn't look the same. I said, yeah. He's changing it moment to moment. He's changing his face. He's not the same. It's a fact. He's not just standing there, he's actually alive. And when you interact with the deities, then you can see that. So, about deity worship, Prabhupada also said you must decorate the deities very nicely. By decorating the deities, you're decorating your heart. And if you neglect decorating the deities, you'll neglect decorating your heart. So your heart will become black. And that's why so many have left. Prabhupada said, devotees have left because they were not doing deity worship. So, now, hankering, this ruchi, after ruchi you get this strong desire to attain Krishna. And I have an example here from Sachidananda Swami's diary of one dog in Vrindavan. And he said this dog showed him how to cry for Krishna. So I'll read you the story about this dog. He said this, I can't wait to tell you about one of my exalted Shiksha gurus from Vrindavan, this black dog. One morning as I peacefully chanted my japa, I heard him for the first time. He was moaning with heart-rending intensity. The cry came from somewhere before the iron gate at the back of our ashram, Lalit Kund. There was something intense, almost human, in his moaning, which made me get out of my room at once to see if I could help. But when I opened the gate and looked for him, he had gone. Next morning he was back, wailing even louder. This time I found him. He was middle-sized, and his head was pointed beyond Radha Kund, towards the direction of Lalita Kund. He was sobbing, wailing, whining. He was beside himself with grief. He melted the hearts of 2 monkeys, who were usually quite self-centered. They had come over there trying to comfort him by caressing his neck and head, mumbling some encouragement into his ears, one into the left and the other into the right. Now these monkeys, I tell you, they're rascals. And they're enemies. Dogs and monkeys are enemies. And here these monkeys were trying to help this dog. So this dog must have really been crying. And Maharaj said that the pitiable cry of this dog was raw emotion, expressing an absolute need which couldn't tolerate any further delay. And when he noticed I was watching him through the pattern of the back gate, he quickly composed himself, clearly embarrassed by my intrusion, and left. No mistake, I saw tears in his eyes. A few days passed, no dog. Then I met him again, this time in the temple of Radha Gopinath. At the end of the circumambulation path around Radha Kund, he sat quietly before the deities. Only those beautiful tears glittered in his eyes. This time, I did not want to disturb him and spoil his ecstasy. Standing before the temple, I realized that the first time I had seen him with his monkey friends, he had looked over the 2 legs directly towards the temple. There was no doubt about the address of his crying. This dog is one of my gurus who confirmed the teaching of Srila Prabhupada. The only price for Krishna consciousness are your sincere tears. Tears shed out of longing for the king and queen of the Vrindavan forest, Shri Radha Krishna. So So you can see he's got tilak, this dog also. A lot of the dogs in Vrindavan have tilak, natural tilak. Black dog with a white tilak mark on his forehead. And it's funny, in Vrindavan we have different sampradayas. There's the Shamananda, and they have a very distinct tilak. It's different from ours. It kind of, it was the ankle bell of Radharani that she put on the forehead of Shamananda. So, and very interestingly, some of the dogs have that tilak too. And there is a whole 5 puppies born with that tilak close to our house, the Shamananda tilak. So, they come from different sampradayas. Prabhupada has said that if you commit offenses while living in Vrindavan, you can become a dog in Vrindavan. So be careful when you visit Vrindavan. Now, I would just like to say one more thing about prema. An experience of one Gurukuli girl, how she found prema in Mayapur. So her father was my godbrother. I can't even remember his name now. Memory is so bad. But anyway, he left his body in Mayapur. And his daughter, who was not so much following Krishna consciousness, she came to be with him. So she was there in Mayapur for 2 months with her father. And here is, of course, she's a Gurukuli, so she knows the philosophy, so we're going to hear some philosophy here. This is a thank you letter to the devotees in Mayapur. When the soul passes from this material world to what we hope is the spiritual world, see, she's not so, she has a few doubts. What dominates our mind is the things we cannot explain. The answer is best left to Krishna. As my father left this world, I pondered many things. Why he did not make choices I would agree with. Why this material world was so hard for him. Why only death could give him the freedom he so long searched for. Again and again, I searched for the answer, only to come up with imperfect answers. I realized by nature this material world is imperfect. And within it, we are imperfect beings, making imperfect choices. But within the fallacy of our material bodies and this material world is the perfect lesson. And now she's applying the philosophy here. That we must be peaceful in surrendering to a force outside of ourself, Krishna, who knows more than we can ever conceive of. My father was a good man. A man who did the best he could with the cards he was dealt with in this material world. That means with his fate. A man who did the best. He had one child, me, Nitai Pada, who he hoped would continue on the spiritual path he stumbled on as a confused soul in the 1970s. He was not perfect, but he felt every decision of his life with his very essence. He was sensitive beyond what he normally showed his peers, and he seemed a man of a mellow and composed nature. Being a child of such an extraordinarily composed man was not simple, as the calm exterior he showed the world did not always reflect the turmoil of what he felt within. But the philosophy of Krishna consciousness always gave him answers and eventually a great peace. I came to know my father in the 2.5 months I was in Mayapur in a way I have never known him before. I knew him in desperation and beauty of death. I knew him in the purest form of God because I came to understand that Krishna is love. Pure prema is not different from God. In my father's last months, he experienced pure love of God through the many brothers and sisters that constantly came to offer their love and service to my father. He experienced pure bhakti and was overwhelmed by it. When death looms at your door, there is no space for excuses, only